Hey, what's good, y'all? This is the host of The Grind on Sartoba Media, Korrey. I just want to let y'all know before y'all get into this video today that you're going to see, I know the audio is messed up, okay? The audio is jacked. It is crazy, okay? I'm a little tight about it. But just to give you a fair warning, the audio is a little jacked up. You can hear it. It kind of sounds like I'm in an arena or something, so I apologize. I'm going to work on that and get that right for next week. But enjoy today's video.
Sartoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
I push that weight to get that dough, but I don't break cause I've been broke. If ain't no pain, then ain't no growth. To keep it 100, I came in to run it and bet if I had to, I'd do it again. It ain't no race if I don't win. I push that weight to get that dough, but I don't break cause I've been broke. If ain't no pain, then ain't no growth. To keep it 100, I came in to run it and bet if I had to, I'd do it again. It ain't no race if I don't win. Trust I'm coming up for that top spot, coming up for that throne. Trust I'm coming up for that drop top, coupe sitting on.
Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Grind. I am your host, Korrey, and we are here to talk about all things WWE. And you can catch The Grind on many different social media platforms, just like this one right here, Sartoba Media, SIRTOBA. Follow Sartoba Media on all social media platforms and catch The Grind every single Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern right here on Sartoba Media's YouTube. The Grind is available on many different other social media platforms. Those platforms will be available for you all to see at the end of today's episode. Now, let's get into what we got for today. Recently, we just saw probably one of the greatest moments in wrestling history. And I know if you're going online, especially on YouTube, and you look at a lot of creators that are talking about the biggest heel turns in history, and I wanted to jump in on that conversation and kind of talk a little bit today about the biggest heel turns in history, but not in that sense. I want to talk about it in a way that impacted me, because these are the top 5 impactful heel turns that I witnessed in my lifetime watching wrestling, okay? In my lifetime, impactful. What do I mean by impactful? I mean, does it change the character? Does it change the course of wrestling? Like, how does it affect the fans, etc.? So, some of the stuff that you all may think, may be on the list. Some things you may think is on the list. I don't know. It may be on there. But for me, impactful means either to that character personally or wrestler personally. How did it affect the wrestling landscape? And how did it affect the fans? So, let's get into what we got. When you look at number 5, one of the, as far as the character goes, one of the best heel turns that we have ever seen is by Becky Lynch. Back on August 19th, 2018 during SummerSlam, Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair was kind of going back and forth over the SmackDown Women's Championship. Becky Lynch ended up losing that match and through her frustration beat the living dog crap out of Charlotte Flair, which turned on to this feud. And that beatdown of Charlotte Flair after the match was supposed to lead to Becky Lynch becoming a heel. WWE didn't measure how much people were tired of Charlotte Flair winning titles even in 2018, and we in 2025 now. And hence was born the Man. Now, I know everybody's going to say the Man was officially there when she got punched in the face by Nia Jax, had a concussion and broken face and stuff like that, and that cool, iconic bloody nose scene or whatever like that. That's fine. But the Man started when she attacked Charlotte Flair during that SummerSlam in 2018, and everything changed. Becky Lynch went from maybe not even below mid-card, maybe mid-card, if they had mid-card titles then, all the way to the top of the freaking company. At one point, Becky Lynch was the entire face of WWE, maybe a year or two, where she was the face. And when you think about like how that impacted her, Becky Lynch went from somebody on the outside of the Hall of Fame to a sure ballot Hall of Famer. She needed that change to make sure that she was able to get over with the fans, to become, a main event star. And without that moment, Becky Lynch probably be, still doing her Irish last kicker gimmick or whatever, and things probably just wouldn't have fell out. So number 5 on my list is Becky Lynch turning on Charlotte Flair. One of the moments that I don't think we talk about enough is back in May of 2017 during a takeover in Brooklyn, if I remember correctly. It's TakeOver Chicago. So back in May of 2017, TakeOver Chicago, during a ladder match for the Tag Team Championships, DIY went against AOP. And once they lost, it was a very somber moment. People thought, DIY is about to move up. That's it. Tommaso Ciampa turned on Johnny Gargano in one of the most iconic moments in NXT history, especially during that black and gold brand, the best time to be an NXT fan, in my opinion, during the entire time NXT has been here. And he turned on Johnny Gargano in probably the most brutal way possible, beating the crap out of him, and hence was born the Black Heart. And this created a feud that I think is underrated in wrestling history. People do not talk about Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa in the series of crazy matches they had. And even then, when they finally rekindled again, Johnny turned on Tommaso. I mean, it was back and forth. It reminded me a lot of Triple H and Shawn Michaels. They were good friends. They started D-Generation X, and one would turn their back on the other, and it's back and forth. But it was meaningful. It wasn't just done to be doing it. And I love the fact that, it grew the popularity of Ciampa and Gargano. So Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, if y'all have not watched that from May 2017 and watched their series of matches after that, I would highly encourage you to do that. But that is number 4 on my list of the most impactful heel turns in WWE history. The next one I have on my list is back in June of 2014. Take a look at my notes. June of 2014, June 2nd to be exact, 2014, when the infamous line of "There's always a plan B" happened, and probably one of the craziest sudden heel turns in history took place. At this point, the Shield were faces, and they had broken away from the Authority, and they decided to do justice in their own way, to take justice into their own hands. And the Shield was on a rampage, tearing up, the Authority and breaking down the system, etc., which, forced Randy Orton, Batista, and Triple H to reform Evolution. And they had a couple of matches where it was kind of brutal. But on that fateful June 2nd day, in 2014, Triple H comes down with a sledgehammer. They're preparing to fight with the Shield. Seth Rollins just casually rolls out of the ring and gets a chair. Nobody knows what's going on here. It was done so freaking well. And Triple H drops the infamous line, and Seth Rollins stabs his brothers in the Shield in the back in order to be propelled into the main event scene, henceforth breaking up the Shield. That moment had people crying. Nobody expected it. I remember watching it and my mouth hitting the floor like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, you never would think that something like that would have taken place. But it was great that it did, because the Shield were 3 individuals that they were trying to figure out who was the main guy, but they didn't really need a main guy because all 3 were world champions or world champion material. And all 3 became WWE champion at some point. Now, I think that, when we look at it, once it's all said and done and they all retire, I think this might be the most impactful faction in WWE history because of what they did when they came onto the scene, destroying John Cena and Ryback, trash, and then went on to that rampage, and was able to separate and be successful. And I think that the Shield turning on that day, even though, like, as a fan, it kind of sucked in that moment because I love the Shield, but the dividends of it and how these guys are now main event players wherever they go, it's just so amazing. We never would have gotten this heel Roman and the timeline we've had the last 4.5, 5 years if that doesn't take place. So, the Shield, Seth Rollins, turning on the Shield, stabbing his brothers in the back. It's number 3 on my list. All right, number 2 on my list is the most recent heel turn. I mean, come on, you know this had to be on the list. John Cena turning on Codyrhodes. Now, if you look at 2 episodes ago, I spoke this into existence. I stated that I felt like John Cena was going to sell his soul based off of what happened during the Royal Rumble. His presser told me everything I needed. Best for business. The last time we heard that line stated was when the Authority was in power. That is straight up, in my opinion, a heelish line to say. And he's desperate. This is his last few months of wrestling. He wants to break the record. And he did what he had to do. And he's going to say that probably when he shows back on TV, I did what I had to do. Y'all, I did this and I did that for y'all for so many years. It's finally about me. It's time for me. And am I mad at it? No. But, the moment itself, though, sent shockwaves through the wrestling world. Shockwaves. Now, I want my one with Travis Scott. I'll tell you that right now. I want my one because if he would smack me like that, forget kayfabe, I'm going to beat your ass. Right there on the spot. Stomp that man out. But anyways. But the moment was impactful. Like, when you look at the photos, you never would have thought with the feud that The Rock and John Cena had and the way they hated each other, they would ever align together. So, this thing is something that has been 22 years in the making, and we never thought we were going to get it because he always teased it, but he never went there. And this proves Bray Wyatt to be correct. Proves cmpunk to be correct, who was saying this before Bray Wyatt. John Cena's a hypocrite. John Cena is a person who masks behind and tells you a bunch of BS. And look at what we're getting now. I just hope WWE does right by this story. This story needs to be a beautiful, selfish, but then redemption-like type thing towards the end of his career. John Cena said he's going to get the fans what they want on his way out, and I can appreciate him thinking about us that much to do that. So, John Cena, Codyrhodes, the impact of that is number 2 on my list. And the number 1 thing that I have on my list, I think you all can guess it. Man. 1996. Bash at the Beach. WCW, The Outsiders. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, rest in peace. We're going against Sting and Macho Man. And they have been talking about it all night because the Outsiders were teasing that they had a third man. And this is when wrestling was like raucous, like rowdy, they do trash, all that stuff. And again, the same way I was just talking about John Cena, like you never would have thought this person would have turned heel. And it happened. So, I give this man a lot of grief. I personally, not personally, because I don't know him personally, but just from the situations that went down since he's gotten older, I'm not a fan of this guy. I will never, be a person that endorses him, but I will say his impact on wrestling, as I've always given him flowers on this, is something that cannot be ignored and something that has set the tone for the way wrestling is now. He was the one that helped usher in this pop culture world that we have with wrestling now. So Hulk Hogan comes down to the ring acting as if he's going to save Sting and he is going to save Macho Man from the beatdown of the Outsiders. And then he just leg drops Macho Man over and over and over and over again and poses with the outsiders. Has a little interview with Mean Gene. I would encourage you to go look at it. It's available on YouTube for you all to watch. 1996, you know, and thus the NWO, the New World Order, was born. Hollywood Hulk Hogan was born. And, you know, when you hear about some of the dark side of the ring stuff, some of the backside of stuff, some of the creative control he had, maybe he had too much control and whatnot. But for the most part, the impact that made on wrestling growing up, I think ultimately forced WWE at the time when it was having those Monday Night Wars and whatnot, forced them to step up. They had to step up because that sent shockwaves through the entire wrestling world. And it was something that fans, again, thought they would never see. Their hero, I am a real American. You never thought the real American would turn into a real asshole. Okay? You never thought that. But there we were. And the way they went about their business, you know, hey, this is our system. We're going to do what we want. You can't do nothing about it. And it was more that, you know, kind of a badass, you know, type thing. I mean, hence D-Generation X kind of coming along as well. But for me, that moment was the most impactful character-wise. How it changed the landscape of wrestling, what it forced WWE to do at the time, and then the level of this, the magnitude of this character, Hulk Hogan, who has been known to be the savior, the guy that crossed over into pop culture, got famous celebrities and whatnot to come into the wrestling world, has turned his back on people that supported him most. So, in a way that elevated other characters like Sting and Booker T and others, you know, I could go on and on, Diamond Dallas Page, many others that had elevated over the time that NWO was in place, it cannot be replaced in history. So number one on my list, Hulk Hogan. Starting that NWO, joining the outsiders, and changing the wrestling landscape forever. So that is my top 5 most impactful heel turns in history. Comment down below, what do you all think is the most impactful heel turn in history? Share your top 1, top 3, top 5, whatever it is. Comment down below and share that with me. Is there something that I forgot that I probably should have talked about? You know, share your thoughts, share your opinions. Thank you all for joining me today. I really appreciate you spending some time with me this afternoon. As always, you know what I'm going to say. Take a moment. Follow Sertoba Media on all social media platforms. SIRTOBA Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome. We trying to be awesome out here. And we need y'all to help us out through the struggle, all right? Help us out. You know, it's nothing to hit a share button. It's nothing to subscribe. It's nothing to get a friend and watch. You know, everything, all the content that we have on here, okay? Also, you can follow The Grind on many different social media platforms. You can see those specific platforms here in just a second. And remember, stay true to what you do, stay true to why you do, and always, always stay true to you. I'll see y'all next week. Be safe. I'm out.
I push that way to get that goal, but I don't break 'cause I've been wrong.